Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, we welcome you to Interesting Ideas for a Friday, a leadership day, a future day. And we are involved in a major project right now, and we want it to be with you. And we want you to be a part of it too, because it's about changing you, changing me, changing life, maybe even changing a little bit of the world. It is the Transformation Project. Now, I've been looking for some music to always go along with what I do, and I finally came up with some ideas, which I'll tell you a little bit about, and they are songs that might be familiar to you. But what I want to do is do just exactly what the title said. Hey, there was a picture of you with your two little girls just after Bill was killed. That's the subject. And I want to tell you the story behind that and how that might be something that you and I can learn as we go through both the victories and the aspirations, but oftentimes the deep tragedies of life that can help us with transformation. That's the intro, that's the trailer, so let's get going. The program begins right now. The Transformation Project is flowing out of one of my colleagues, a good friend and mentor, and he also was a student of mine. He mentored me, and perhaps I taught him. Joe Pine and his Strategic Horizons team and fellowship putting together after their world-famous book, The Experience Economy. Now, could it be it's the Transformation Economy? And we have a transformation project, which is, I think, some of us would say, yeah, there are a whole lot of things that need changing, and perhaps a whole lot of things that truly need transforming. Well, I also try and put pictures and songs with anything I do, and interestingly enough, I came up with 4 words that may describe a little bit of this project. First of all, imagination. And there we go to the song Pure Imagination from the Chocolate Factory. And a number of very fine musicians have put that song together. Pure Imagination. And then one of my favorite songs, which certainly dates me, and that is Nat King Cole, and it was Fascination. Fascination. There's an idea for you. Imagination, fascination, and that might be the next step toward transformation. And a transformation can be so small and yet be so large, but in many ways it almost defies explanation. There's something about it. There's something involved in it which takes us to things that we perhaps can't figure out. There's a little bit of mystery and magic and wonder that's involved in something that is transformational. So those are the words I'd like you to be thinking about. And we'll talk more about them, but think about the music that might be involved. Here we go again. Imagination, fascination, yeah, transformation that may even defy explanation. Here we go. Here's the story. At my age and stage, I'm involved in class reunions of many years ago. It's been many years since I graduated from high school, but of course, what happens is that the people from a certain class, they have the 20th anniversary, the 30th anniversary, the 40th anniversary, even the 50th anniversary of the class reunion of their graduation. And they're exchanging, of course, throughout that time, notes. Well, at this particular time in my life, unfortunately, many of the notes we get are about the passing on of fellow classmates. And that's happening, of course, on a regular basis. It just, that's the way it is. And of course, that's because we're getting older. Now, obviously, a number of years ago when that happened, it oftentimes was due to something tragic, something that was certainly a premature death because of an accident or of a disease. But there was one that struck me in particular. And I don't want to particularly use the person's name. I'll just call her by the name that she went by. Her name was June, and she was a cheerleader in our high school. And a very fine cheerleader she was, because you had to be really good. That was a strong competition in those days. And her story is that she had been going together with a boy named Bill. That's when they did that. In fact, they even started going steady, remember that term, when they were in junior high. And then through high school, and then they got married. And they had 2 children, 2 small girls. And it turns out that Bill was in the United States Armed Forces, and we were involved, as many of my age and stage were, and it obviously affected all of us at that age and stage in the war in Vietnam. As one of the friends said in the classmate comments about the recent death of June, is Bill fought in the war, a war not of his making, and a war not of his choosing, but he was killed there. He was killed in Vietnam. And so when we have our little memoriams, we remember especially Bill. And he was a friend of mine, not a close friend, but a friend. Knew him well, sat right behind me in physics class. And there was Jeffrey. And I remember Jeffrey well. We were good friends. And he also lost his life in Vietnam. Well, the story is this, that what happened, and the people commemorated all of this, is that, June went on and carried on. 2 young girls, and she has lost the love of her life, her husband. But then the story continues. She began to put life back together. She married again, had another child. The children grew up, and she put together a life of accomplishment, a life of goodness, a life of sweetness, a life of many friends, and made her mark very much in the world of her friendships, and was well known in the field that she worked in terms not only of her friendship, but of her achievements and accomplishments. Her children grew up, and they did well. Grandchildren came into the world, and that was the especial part of her life, as she was a doting grandmother. And as someone said, she kept in shape. She kept in good bodily form. I guess at one time in the reunion, she even came in the cheerleader outfit, or at least put it on for the reunion, so that she could celebrate that fact. Well, she did battle with cancer and recently passed away. And that's one of the memos we got, that she had passed away. There was a lovely picture of her, and of course, the picture of many years ago. I don't know if they do it that much anymore, but at that time, you always had your senior picture taken which of course the local photographer loved because he could charge a lot of money, because every child usually had to have their senior picture taken, and they made good money from that. And so we all had that done, and that was the picture we had and she showed, and then the picture previous to her death. But what got me about that was, even though I was not a close friend of hers, I knew her, and she knew of me. We were in classes together, particularly the speech class, where we both tried to do some of our performing and learning how to step up in public and learn how to do that. But the point is that what struck me is that can be called a transformation in many ways, can't it? When somebody has had a significant tragedy in their life, when something has happened to them that just devastates every plan they had and every intention they had. Now, a colleague of mine only in terms of our affiliation, but I view him as a mentor. Richard Rohr has said that he has come to the belief that transformation primarily comes from two things. First of all, it comes from a great love. There's a great love involved. And that leads to some incredible aspirations and some goals and the passion to press on. In effect, it is that great, great love which helps you overcome and gives you the great resilience that you need to achieve something worthwhile, something even great, something even transformational. And it could also be a great suffering. We all perhaps know of the story of perhaps someone who finally suffered themselves because of their alcoholism and their addiction into a life that was so miserable and hurtful that finally, when they hit bottom so hard, when they had suffered so much, that became perhaps the instance or the beginning of a transformation. I remember going and hearing a gentleman who had become a world famous speaker and a great mentor and counselor to many. And he recalled telling us about the day that some of that began to happen when he was passed out in the gutter on a street, hardly in his right mind at all, but a woman and a little girl walked by, and they walked away saying, "Oh my God, stay away from that." Not stay away from him, stay away from that. And he points out that even though he'd gone all through a lot of things, the very comment of that woman to her little girl was the moment where he finally decided to take the actions and the activities necessary for an eventual transformation. So could it be that a great love and perhaps a great suffering are a part of the transformation process? But that also leads us exactly to what I just said. Could it be a woman who lived an ordinary but obviously an extraordinary life was able, because even though that terrible tragedy had taken place, and one of the friends who commented, who also knew both of them in the class, said, "Those were bad times indeed when Bill died. Bad times indeed." And yet, good and new life came out of that. The children did well. The grandchildren are blossoming. And a true personal transformation took place. Through courage, through faith, through extraordinary effort, through perhaps just the character of who she was and what she became. That's just something I'd like you to think about this week as we think about how can we change the world. And oftentimes it comes right down to, first of all, changing our world. And often it comes to just simply taking the first change as a result of a betrayal, a brokenness, a bad deal, even a tragedy. And those too can count as transformations. Just an interesting idea for your thought and consideration on this Friday flowing into the weekend at this special time of the year. I'll be right back. I would like to hear from you. My friend Joe would like to hear from you too. Okay, now here's the deal. Everybody who has had what you would call a moment of transformation, maybe a lifetime of transformation, we'd like to know more about it. Perhaps you have a story to tell. Maybe just simply a moment that struck you and changed you profoundly. If you have a desire to do that, we certainly would love to hear your story. Obviously, we can maintain total confidentiality, and you can do so, I guess, in some ways anonymously, if that would be good. But we would like to know, how do people change? How do people change extraordinary and almost amazing ways, almost without explanation? It is imagination, fascination, transformation, defying explanation. And perhaps you'd like to share that with us. Please do so. StanHusted@gmail.com. StanHusted@gmail.com. I look forward to hearing from you. All the best and blessings to you. May you begin to have those moments which you begin to appreciate the small transformations that are taking place or have taken place in your life, and you give thanks for them. And at the same time, you're seeking places and spaces and ways that perhaps in what time is left to you, a lot, or in the case of me, perhaps quite short, that we could have some transformational episodes that we can bring into our own life and into our world that desperately needs transformed people. Till next time, I'm Stan Husted with interesting ideas. Bye for now.